We are proud to have on the show Marcus Etchegaray, the founder of the Etchegaray Group at RBC, also a former junior player, a guy who Joey is going to have a few things in common with. Highlight in 0405, 155 PIMs with 58 points in 49 games for the Antigonish Bulldogs in the MJH AHL. Marcus, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Doing well, boys. How you guys doing?
Not bad, not bad.
Doing all right.
All right, so we spoke previously, and you mentioned your relationship with ex-NHLer Teddy Purcell growing up in St. John's in Newfoundland. Is there any stories that stick out in your mind that you'd like to share about a guy who's, based on judging from his Chicklets appearances, someone who's as iconic as Teddy Purcell?
Yeah, he's a good guy. It's been a little while since we've connected, but yeah, you know what? Back in the day, yeah, we're pretty close. In fact, I was breaking out the photo albums there with my two young kids about a month or two ago, and we were flipping through the old birthday parties at McDonald's, and like we all had as back in the day, or I did anyways. But yeah, a few appearances by Teddy back at those parties, and it's really funny. Guy looks kind of similar to what he looks like now, but much smaller guy back then than what he ended up growing up to be, which is a pretty tall kid. But yeah, no, Teddy and I were buddies for quite some time, and I would say it was both on the ice, off the ice, and even in the summer times. Growing up in Newfoundland, one of the things a lot of the hockey players would do when the hockey season was over was kind of throw the skates in the bag and take the soccer ball out and go flick it around and try to stay in shape a little in the summer that way. So Teddy was really good at soccer as well. I'm not saying I was, but he was, and we played on the same soccer team together, Team Newfoundland, and a few other kind of decent soccer teams in the summer. So he wouldn't even get a break from me during the year. We'd play on the same line. I was his right winger. He was on the other wing, or at times center, depending on the need. And I definitely had a lot of timing with him. But yeah, I remember hearing about this guy for the first time when I was about 7 years old. And we played school hockey in St. John's, Newfoundland. So you played for your school before so that was house league. Playing for your school, and then All-Star would be playing for your association, right? So Teddy and I were part of the same All-Star team, but we were on different house league teams. And I remember, the first year before we played together on an All-Star group, hearing about this kid, Teddy Purcell, and he played on our rival, and I remember watching him out on the ice before we were lacing up to play our game, and I watched this guy go end-to-end toe drag literally all 5 players on the other team. You'd figure by the fourth guy or fifth guy, they would have figured it out that he was probably going to toe drag it again. But yeah, he just went through everybody and dangled the goalie and scored a goal, and then probably a few more. But he was always really good as a kid, and then hitting came along, and I think for a little while there, he was trying to find his place because he was definitely a late bloomer on the growth charts. But needless to say, he found his stride and certainly did well for himself. But yeah, one funny one I'll share with you. I remember back in the day, Teddy and I were for sure good friends, and Teddy had a birthday party in September one year during the same time I was supposed to try out for a hockey team, and I remember my dad asked me, Marcus, you got a hockey tryout at the same time your buddy's, birthday party. What do you want to do? And I know he was really hoping I was going to say, of course, Dad, go to the hockey tryout. And no, my answer was go to Teddy's birthday party. So sure enough, I actually went to Ted's birthday party that year rather than going to the tryout. And I don't think I actually played on the All-Star team that year as a result of it. So no, he was a good guy. Definitely. I would even go as far as saying, his dad and my dad were buds back in school as well. So yeah, there's a natural kind of, friendship along the way. But around 17, 18, I left home to go play Junior A in the Maritime Junior A League with the team at the time was the Campbellton Tigers up in northern New Brunswick. And, Teddy was playing midget AAA with the St. John's AAA Maple Leafs that year. So bunch of our buddies kind of stuck around back at home and played another year of midget AAA. Won the Air Canada Cup that year. They were really damn good, that team. And I kind of went on and played away, and I chuckle because I think Teddy had the right path in mind. Rather than getting out of Newfoundland too early, he stuck around for a championship run and made a name for himself. And then I think the next year he went down to University of Maine and played for the Black Bears. So yeah, good guy, really good hockey player, and a guy I should probably get back in touch with. Just a cool dude all around.
Did you, after he made the jump to the NHL, have you guys maintained any contact? Like he's got any tickets when he's in Toronto?
No, you know what? It's been a little while. I know. So my dad was in, the transportation business for a while. And I know that when he was looking to get his vehicle to and from, we call it the mainland, anything off of the coast of Newfoundland, because it requires a boat or something to get a car off of that island. I know my dad would help him and his father kind of get the vehicle out while he's playing in the show. But it's been a little while since I've connected with Teddy, for sure. Probably worthwhile giving him a quick shout and rekindling old stories like this. Especially, the ball pits at McDonald's. Lord knows we all have some good stories from those days, right?
So, Marius, I want to go over kind of your playing career. So, on Elite Prospects, you're listed as 5'11", 194 pounds, and you're able to garner some interest from Junior A and OHL teams. Especially during a time where there was really strong emphasis on taller and stronger players. I just kind of want to know what you did to separate or to stand out from all those bigger guys, and considering you're from Newfoundland too, where some players out there may be overlooked.
It's a good question. So I'll sum it up by sharing this with you. So growing up, back in the 80s, and being, I think, a 7, 8, 9-year-old kid in 92, 93 when the Leafs went, the conference finals against LA that year, that high stick, Gary Fraser. It always comes back. Right? I know. But yeah, big Leaf fan as a kid. But I loved Wendell Clark. My dad was definitely a guy who said to me, Marcus, don't be just the most skilled guy out there. Be a guy that if somebody, on your team gets, pushed or picked on or anything of the sort, don't be shy, step up for them and have more roles than just one, right? So that was kind of it for me. So starting at 13, I started hitting the gym a little bit, not that it shows now, but, started hitting the gym a little bit, and I definitely was thicker than any kind of other, player that I was playing against when I was 13, 14, and 15, and definitely worked out pretty hard. So when I was, the example, 16 playing on my major AAA team, I definitely wasn't the tallest guy on the team. I was 5'11" at that time, and I actually was the same weight as what I was listed at. But, I was just one of the more, I guess, thicker guys. But the one thing, if many Newfoundlanders, or if you don't know many, one thing that we all kind of have in common is that, we will not be most likely the skilled guy in the room or the most skilled guy in the room. We'll have a little, but we won't be just that. There needs to be an element of, blue collar, get in the corners, do what you have to do in order to make a name for yourself. And I think from my vantage point, I figured there were things in life I can control. There are things that I can't control. And how hard I work out, the work I put in after the practice or after the game, working on a shot, working on this, that, and the other thing, or just a play that went wrong in the game that, in hindsight, when you're reflecting upon it, in the dressing room, you want to think about what can I do next time to make sure that doesn't happen. Well, I think the way to put it is, in life, it's a game of inches. Probably heard this one before, but it is a game of inches. And I think if you continually work on the little things in your game that do need working on, you'll be able to bridge those gaps. So yeah, 5'11", 195 pounds. I definitely modeled my game after Wendell Clark. And, I thought if I could get a point a game or something close to that, and at the same time be able to, have an element of physicality to the game, which, 100, whatever you say there, Matt, 155 points or so, or 155 pins or so in that year with the Antigonish Bulldogs. Yeah, that was it. On that line that I was on, I had a couple of really good players that made me look good for sure. But beyond that, I think, they were very skilled on that line. And from time to time, I need to stick up for them and be the guy that will go in the corner and let the other players know that these guys need some space to be able to do the job. So, just working hard and working on the physicality and conditioning and just being a thicker guy. I couldn't control the height, but I could control the thickness, if you will,
Yeah, that's something now that I look back, I should have probably focused a little more on being more of a versatile player, not just one of those skill guys. But
well, you know what though? Like, let's be honest here, boys. I mean, back in the day when you were a 14-year-old growing up in school, to be, a little muscular back at that point when the competition in your grade with the ladies were, not necessarily packing any muscle on it. It was a little advantage back in the day. And then, kids came and the gym, was a little less. I still go daily and work out, but I mean, not the same physique as back when you're trying hard to get to that level,
Yeah.
You're in Mont Tremblant right now, so skiing's a pretty damn good workout in the winters, eh?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so exactly. I mean, I live in Toronto. My family and I, we've got our home there, but we've got a cabin out about 20 kilometers away from Mont Tremblant. I definitely take advantage of the lake skating and all that COVID has kind of presented us with, which is just a little bit more time to balance life out and not work less, definitely not, but not necessarily do the commuting and all that goes along with it. And I've turned commuting into a daily or a weekly ski, so it's been good.
That's good. So now I just want to go over listed here. You have one game in the OHL with the Belleville Bulls. I just want you to take us through the experience and how you found out you were going to be in the lineup for that game.
So, yeah, you know what? I chuckle every time I look at my own hockey DB, which I think every guy who plays, does from time to time. The one line item under the Belleville Bulls, the OHL, I have to say that whole experience was life-changing for me in every conceivable way. I've started off by saying, that team didn't draft me or anything of the sort. That was a walk-on tryout that I got. And, again, the mentality of each day in the summer leading up to that camp, control what you can control, the work you put into it. So every day there was plyometrics work that I would do independently. There was, physical, weight workouts every day I would do to get myself as in shape as I could possibly be for that camp. And I remember going to that camp and looking around the room at a whole bunch of people. I think it was one of my first times in Ontario, or funny enough, at that point in time. And I remember looking around the room and seeing a whole bunch of guys that were there on the team last year, in some cases, first and second round draft picks accordingly. And, I was definitely low man on the totem pole. But again, the blue collar definitely came out. And within 8 seconds of our first game, which was an inter-squad game, I didn't know who the hell this guy was, but I grabbed, one of the top goal scorers. I didn't, again, know this. I thought it was just a regular guy on the team, but I grabbed one of the top goal scorers from the year before and just beat the shit out of him, right? And I remember all the guys coming up to me like, "What are you doing, Marcus? Like, this is, one of our top players. You can't be doing that to him. Like, he's not going to fight you back. He doesn't know what he's doing. Look at you. Look at it, and I learned, you probably don't want to just be a savage out there, but I definitely, try to bring a little bit of that to the table. So what I can absolutely positively tell you is that during those tryouts, I didn't get cut. And I actually got a chance to play in the preseason games, and I actually am pretty not proud of this, because who the hell's proud of this when you're, sitting in your perch at, the age I am now, kind of thinking back to a junior career. But I definitely over those 5 or 6 games led the team in both scoring and penalty minutes. And I remember thinking to myself, opening night, baby, I'm there, definitely. And I was a healthy scratch for the first game of the year. And I remember being a healthy scratch for the second game of the year and still practicing really hard and doing all that I could. And, third game, throwing my arms up after not seeing myself in the lineup, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? And, I got to tell you, it was pretty disheartening inside, wondering, what do I have to do to get a shot here? And I honestly felt in my heart that I was better than quite a few players that were getting looks accordingly, right? So, yeah, you know what? After about 5 or 6 games of sitting in the stands, I got suited up. And it took me walking into the coach's office, sitting down and slamming my fist down and saying, what do you want from me? What can I do more? And tell me, if there's any more I can do, I'll do it. I'm just looking for a shot here. And that's always been the mentality in life, just looking for a foot in the door or an opportunity in some way, shape, or form. And if I can get that, I feel like, I've got an opportunity then. And, they looked at me, they appeased me, and they said, we'll give you a shot, Etch. No sweat. So next game, I'm, chomping at the bit, and I get in against the Kingston Frontenacs. And I remember that day like it was yesterday. It was a road game. I go into the dressing room, sitting there in the stall is my jersey, my name on the back of this OHL jersey, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, that moment that you worked really, really hard for finally arrives. And I don't think I got a shift in the first period. The second period, it took 5 minutes or so to get a shift. And when I got on the ice for the first time, I saw a guy cutting across, termed as the trolley tracks. And I lower my shoulder and I give it to him. And I get a 2-minute penalty, 8 seconds onto the ice for, it wasn't hit to the head. There was no such thing as that back in the day. But for, I don't know what the penalty was for, charging or something. But I got a penalty. And I got very little ice time accordingly. And then the third period came, and that was the end of the game. We lost the game, and it was all good. But the very next morning, I remember getting called to the office, and, I know what that meant. It was, Marcus, pack your stuff up. You're getting sent back down to Junior A. And this is where I say I remember this day forever because, the reality of it is that was the day I actually gave up on hockey. And shame on me for doing it. It was a little adversity that I faced, and they were sending me down to one of the top Junior A teams in the country, the Wellington Dukes at the time. But I wanted nothing to do with it. I wanted to go back to the team I played on the year before, which was a Junior A team back in New Brunswick. And, shortly thereafter, I quit hockey for a little bit, for a year, got back on the wagon, played for my, the town I was in, Junior A, for the Antigonish Bulldogs. But there is no goal at that point to make the NHL or be a professional hockey player. It was to get school covered off and, play some hockey, have some fun with the boys along the way. You get the picture. But yeah, that was the day I remember giving up on hockey. And, I vowed, at that point in time, if we face a little adversity along the way, it's not going to be something that buckles me at the knees like it did when I was, an 18-year-old boy, a little homesick in Belleville, Ontario. So, yeah, and I got to say, that mentality is definitely, served, I guess, me well over the past, 15 odd years of my career. But, that's the story of the one line item for me in the OHL, that one single game. A little bittersweet for sure.
I can't help but think that you got the Don Cherry treatment. A one game showing and getting in shit for going and beating the living hell out of the star player.
I've got to say when I saw a guy like Nazem Kadri go give Jake DeBrusk the gears after he was picking up for his teammate, and then he was traded shortly thereafter, my heart went out to him because, again, players that play with that type of emotion and passion, they're not growing on trees in your backyard, right? You got to make sure you take that passion and take that emotion and harness it in the right direction. If you can, like Colorado have done with this guy, I give that guy kudos. He's surrounded by great players and he's done a really good job there. It can be a really great asset having passion and emotion. And that's definitely one thing that, ask my wife about it. I bring intensity to a lot of the things that I do in life, and sometimes good, sometimes bad, but yeah, take it or leave it. It's just kind of the makeup of the guy, right?
That's a great story. I love hearing about the underdog OHL stories. It really fires you up.
I wish it wasn't an underdog. I wish it went a little differently, but no, it's funny. My brother, a few years after, in fact, 9 years after me, he ended up getting drafted by the Quebec Rampart in the Q, and funny enough, went on to be their captain, played the Memorial Cup a few years ago, and even got a look in with the Red Wings a few years back. So, but the thing is, this guy never ever thought once about a plan B. He only thought about playing hockey, and it served him really well. So, yeah, no, I can say my story wasn't overly successful, but it can be if you just keep your eye on the prize.
Absolutely. Now, taking a turn from hockey to the more business side, we rarely get the chance to talk to someone born and raised on the Rock. How was like different in Newfoundland compared to when you came to Toronto to pursue your financial career?
Oh, so yeah, I mean, Newfoundland's a very different place from that perspective. Like I'll give you a little perspective on it. I mean, Toronto in finance, it's the finance capital of Canada, right? So growing up on the East Coast and getting my degree out of, CNFX University in Nova Scotia, I really wanted to take that finance degree to Toronto. So I'll share this with you. After graduating university, I ended up packing up a suitcase with, some essentials, if you will, some peanut butter, bread, and all the good things like that. A suit, a change of clothes, about 150 resumes, and a copy of all the investment firms and just finance companies in downtown Toronto. And for the first couple of days, it was honestly, it's crazy. Sleeping outside a little bit, firing around resumes, taking there's no such thing as Google Maps, just taking a map and trying to find these different places and, knocking on doors and shaking hands. But, that led to an opportunity, which led to, the opportunity to come back to Toronto. So really what I'm saying here is after, walking the streets and putting your suitcase in the Greyhound bus station, locking it up and kind of doing your hair there in the morning and walking about and, you will garner respect. And I did. I got a few opportunities. One was working in Calgary with Scotiabank at the time. So took that job. 2.5 years into it, look this story up, boys. It's a funny one. I decided one day to chase a robber who decided to rob our branch, and that was the end of my career in Calgary. It's a funny one though. I ended up getting a call from the chief of police in Calgary a couple of months after that, giving me a little pat on the back and offering a Chiefs award for doing something quite frankly pretty dumb, but all good. It worked out. But yeah, long story short, it goes like this. I always wanted to be in Toronto. I was with a girl who's now my wife who was finishing up a finance degree in Calgary. She also wanted to be in Toronto, so we just moved here again on a bit of a whim, wanting to again make it in Toronto. And what that ended up looking like was starting a practice in downtown Toronto with one of RBC's competitors, building up a nice business after 7 odd years or so. I gotta say though, I mean, it was built on the same approach that the hockey career was primarily built on: hard work. And it was about 185 dials a day, cold calls a day to get the business up and running. But what that led to was an opportunity to take this business that I created, align it with RBC, which is the premier name in Canadian wealth management, and certainly when it comes to sports and working with athletes accordingly, which I do daily and strive to continue doing daily. I mean, RBC has the best business in North America to do that, and I feel frankly pretty damn lucky and grateful that a year ago I moved my business and my team, the Etchegarry Group that you mentioned a little bit earlier on in this interview, moved my practice over from where I was over to RBC, and began to work hard every day at building our RBC Pro Sports division, which is very, very well run. Got a lot of really solid programs that focus on financial education and post-career planning for athletes, and what we call strategic philanthropy, which is how to give back to various initiatives and charities that are actually important to the athlete accordingly. And mental health also. I mean, we've developed a really good program there, and I champion that. I go to market daily trying to share with agents and players in various sports, not just hockey, but other sports as well, baseball and candidly basketball. These are the focuses that I have right now, but trying to find great athletes, great up and coming athletes that will be marquee household names over the next few years, and trying to lead with something other than just I'm here from RBC to offer you integrated financial services across North America. I mean, bottom line, is so boring just to say it. I know that's what we do, and that's great and amazing and all that good stuff, but guys, that's table stakes. I think anyone or any company who gets in the business of working with anyone has to be able to, make it a seamless operation. So that's definitely something that RBC do. I would say though that, RBC developed this entity, this pro sports group in 1989, and no other, company, certainly Canada, has done that. So we've used this 32 years or so of insights and experience to develop a 4-pillar educational program that really does bring a lot of, educational and insightful components to the athletes. So, what I would say is this. One thing I've come to find, and I think about my brother and I think about my parents when, he was on the cusp of making it, so to speak, fairly decently in hockey. And, the reality of it is when you're talking to an 18 or 19-year-old, or even younger than that in some instances, about their career, they're excited, they're listening, they're all over their professional career. When you start trying to bring forward concepts that are financial in nature and why this stuff's important, I mean it. I don't care how cool you are. It's tough to resonate with most young boys, kids at that point in time. So what I would say to that, and it's interesting, is that in my practice, I think the most important person besides the athlete and the agent is actually the parents of that player. And I think in tandem with agents, what our value proposition is listen, you have your agent looking after your professional career and you have us looking after your financial career, and that's great. However, there's a lot of things that have to happen between these two goalposts here in order to make sure what you earn and what you bring to the table from what your agent does, which is negotiate great money for you and great opportunities for you, and what I do, there has to be a whole host of things like educating you around what the heck to do with it and educating you around, really various themes in terms of strategic philanthropy. And what does that mean? Like, you probably wonder, what the hell does that even mean, strategic philanthropy? So you take a couple of players, one, a household name that everyone knows all about, Austin Matthews, example, right? Walks across any city in North America, and I think most people would be like, that's Austin. I mean, hell, he's on the cover of Chell, right? It's like, you're going to know who that guy is. That said, you take a guy like, I'll even say Morgan Riley for that matter, still an all-star hockey player, really good. But again, you walk through, smaller markets or smaller places in Canada or the US, and no one's going to know who Morgan Riley is. You think about it though, he makes very good money. He is a figure in Toronto. Morgan Riley walks around Toronto. You know who he is. And a lot of people will point to him and be like, hey, it's you. So, that creates an opportunity for Morgan if he thinks about things the right way and if he has the right people and partners in his life. So think about it like this. Decent paycheck. I mean, he needs to certainly understand what to do with it. So financially educating that guy is vital, absolutely vital, so that, he has enough money to get through the next chapter of his life. But it's also taking that influence and the extra, money that he does have and using it strategically through strategic philanthropy. So we work with a company which ultimately will sit with a player and try to better understand what their wish list looks like in terms of giving back in their community. And they'll try to, look at things from that vantage point and say, okay, well, if you are passionate about this and, you have time and maybe some resources to give to this, then why don't we partner you with this initiative in order for you to, give back strategically, but also do so in a way where he's creating enough goodwill for himself through his community where people look at him after his career and say, you're a well-connected guy. You have done all the right things. We like you. We like you and what you've done and what you stand for. And that right there will create, along with a lot of other ideas and things, but we're talking about strategic philanthropy and what that actually means. It's taking the goodwill that's inside of a person and their desire to give back and trying to figure out, is it, money they want to give back with, or is it time they want to give back with, a combination of both, and doing so in a way so that we can align it with their goals post-career. And listen, some people want nothing to do with that. Some people want to, get on the air and be an anchor on a TV show for sports or, something of that sort. And, you know, if that's their focus, then, you know, we can absolutely begin to make those introductions and talk to people in, you know, jobs of that nature that did play at one point in time, and they can create those connections so that after, and this links back into one of the other pillars, post-career planning, I think you can appreciate these 4 pillars are completely connected, and they all are they're not independent. They're, you know, they're very important, and they build upon one another, if you will. So, yeah, I mean, I always lean in with an agent and a player on educating them financially first, and then from there, trying to figure out what their aspirations are, how they want to give back, how they want to, you know, get themselves set up, and then from there, we figure out what the next few steps are within, you know, our program to get them, you know, well looked after accordingly. But no, I think from my vantage point, my job with players is, you know, number one, be their quarterback, be their, and I do air quotes when I say this, be their financial guy, so that anything financial, and I do mean it, anything financial, it's a quick reach out to me. And I got to say, I mean, we have all the right partners internally at RBC to cover off everything. But the reality of it is there's sometimes, and I guess a few things that RBC can't do the job on in some cases, like filing taxes for a person who has very complex cross-border, needs. I mean, it becomes very tricky, and you need good people in your corner that are outside of the organization as well. So, yeah, I mean, this will go to the extent of, in some cases, even having partners at Pfaff Auto, which we do. I mean, if a player is moving to a major city in Canada, as an example, we'll get, you know, a contact of ours to, you know, get that individual plugged in and set up. So, yeah, I mean, I just simply describe it as every individual, whether, you know, you're an executive or an athlete or just a human being in general, you need a person in your corner to help you financially. And, you know, I like to position myself and certainly lean on my background in sport and what I've learned along the way to be that guy for, athletes, and, you know, really good athletes as well. I mean, that's just it, right? So, no, that's kind of where I was going, I think, with the last point. But yeah.
All right. So thank you so much for coming on the show. I see an amazing story, story of a true hustler making his name in a city halfway across the country from where he was born and raised. Marcus, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was amazing talking to you.
No, thank you so much for having me, guys. We'll hopefully do this again sometime.
We'll do 100%. We'd love to have you back.